We tend to think of high intelligence as this incredible superpower, the ability to solve any problem, learn anything super fast, and just kind of cruise through life. But is that really how it works? Let's take a closer look at the other side of that coin.
So, does having a powerful, fast-moving brain actually make your life easier? You'd think the answer would be a simple yes, but honestly, it's way more complex than that.
Because when you really dig into the psychology of it, a completely different picture starts to form. It turns out that a highly active, intelligent mind often comes with its own unique and pretty heavy set of struggles.
And hey, if you've ever found yourself feeling just completely drained or like you don't quite sync up with the people around you, it might not be some kind of personal flaw. It could just be that your brain is wired in a fundamentally different way. So in this explainer, we're going to dive into 5 common struggles that often come along with having this different kind of mind. Let's get right into it. All right, first up is a huge one, the overthinking loop. You know that feeling of being trapped on a mental hamster wheel that you just can't seem to get off of?
And this isn't just about plain old worrying. No, this is about constantly running these detailed mental simulations, playing out every possible scenario, every conversation, every single potential outcome, all inside your head. That nonstop analysis is exactly what can spiral into some serious anxiety.
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? It just feels like your brain doesn't have an off switch. Even when you're trying to relax or just be in the moment, that analysis is still whirring away in the background. It is absolutely exhausting.
Now, this constant internal battle often leads to an external one, which brings us to our second point. This search for connection.
We're not talking about being shy or antisocial here. This is a very specific kind of loneliness that comes from a deep, deep craving for real, meaningful connection. It's that feeling when you're dying to talk about big ideas and complex concepts, but you find yourself stuck in yet another conversation about the weather.
So on one side, you've got small talk. And look, it's the social glue for a lot of interactions. But for this kind of mind, it can feel so empty. What you're really craving are those deep dives on the other side, the conversations that have layers, that really explore the why behind everything. And that mismatch, it can feel incredibly isolating.
Okay, our third struggle is another internal one, and wow, it is a real trap, perfectionism. And I'm not talking about the productive kind you might mention on a resume. No, this is a frustrating, self-defeating kind of perfectionism. The standards you set for yourself are so unbelievably high that instead of motivating you, they just become this constant source of harsh self-criticism. You basically become your own toughest critic, by a long shot. Does this little internal voice sound familiar? Yeah, this is good, but... That but is the entire perfectionism trap in a nutshell. It constantly dismisses whatever you've accomplished and immediately zeroes in on any tiny perceived flaw. It just creates this endless cycle of dissatisfaction. This really just says it all, doesn't it? You could do something 90% right, but your brain dedicates almost all of its attention to that 10% that could have been better. It completely warps your perception of your own success.
All right, moving on to the fourth struggle. This one is all about perception, the weight of awareness.
So hyper-awareness means your brain is wired to see patterns, but that also means it's brilliant at spotting the breaks in those patterns. You can't help but notice every logical flaw, every inefficiency in a system, every single inconsistency in an argument. It's like seeing the code behind the matrix all the time.
And here's the kicker. This isn't a choice. It's not like you can just decide to stop noticing these things. That constant stream of analysis, of seeing everything that's wrong with the world, can be incredibly draining. And all of that brings us to our fifth and final struggle, which is maybe the most profound of them all, the existential burden.
You see, when your brain is built for deep analysis and complex reasoning, you don't just apply it to problems at work, you apply it to everything: life, death, purpose, meaning. This can naturally lead to frequent and really intense periods of existential anxiety. And it so often boils down to this one fundamental question. Now, while a lot of people might ask this from time to time, for a highly analytical mind, this can be a persistent, recurring question that's just always there, looming in the background of everyday life. So, after going through all these heavy struggles, what do? Well, the key isn't to somehow eliminate them, but to reframe them, to find a whole new perspective.
The path forward really has 3 steps. First, you just have to acknowledge that these struggles are real. Second, understand where they're coming from, that different wiring we talked about. And third, and this is the most important part, you reframe them. Start to see them as the flip side of your greatest strengths. Ultimately, things like overthinking, perfectionism, and feeling socially isolated, they aren't character flaws. They're not personal failings. They are the natural, totally predictable byproducts of a mind that is deep, analytical, and highly aware.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. If the mind that overthinks is also the one that can solve incredibly complex problems, and the mind that feels existential anxiety is also the one that's capable of profound insight, then if these are the burdens, what are the gifts?